Hi, I'm Belinda Fenty.
And I'm Pauline Nakiria.
Welcome to Let's React podcast, the show where we dive into the world of entertainment.
Yeah, we'll share our experiences, the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
Join us every week as we bring you stories, industry insights, and captivating conversations.
Let's React podcast, where the spotlight shines on our stories and the magic of Black British talent. Welcome to another episode of Let's React. I am Pauline Nakiria, and I am joined by my lovely co-host,
Belinda Fenty. Hey!
How are you?
I'm good. I had a very interesting week.
Yeah.
I was offered some life coaching by someone who's doing a course.
Okay.
And it was a good deal, kind of like pay what you can, twice a month. But here's the thing. I was already doing so much that the idea of taking on coaching as well made me feel anxious. So I really just listened to my sort of gut instinct, my body. And I said to her, look, if you look at my August, on average, I am doing at least 2 acting workshops a week, each of which is 4 to 5 hours long. I have my singing lesson. I have my daily singing practice. I'm doing some songwriting. So I'm already doing a lot of positive things.
Okay.
For myself, and I'm happy with what I'm doing. And I feel like we live in a kind of space where there's an energy that's saying, do more, you're not doing enough, and then you should, and it's just relentless. So the reason why I bring this all up is because this is kind of our topic of the day, growth and how we learn and develop and how we listen to ourselves and pick the directions that we need to move in.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. How was your week?
My week it was all right, actually. I don't remember what happened earlier in the week, especially. I think it's all a blur. But I helped a friend with a self-tape, which was really cool. And it was interesting. And we were talking about how sometimes you get a self-tape and it's like last minute and you don't really have that many people to help you with, or not everyone is available at the time, and then figuring out how to do a self-tape without another actor. And so just calling up or messaging everyone and just be like, oh, can you help me with this tape? And that was really fun. Then we went to Focus Africa Festival yesterday, Saturday. That was really nice to actually do and just check out. The talent was amazing, especially the fashion, even the music as well. That was really cool. So my week has been more or less that kind of week. Trying to work on myself as well.
I do want to hear more about that, but I was going to promise the audience that they might get a sneak peek of us at the Focus Africa event. Yeah. Your 2 hosts were there representing.
On our Instagram, we definitely posted it in the story. And but it was really fun.
Really fun.
Nice to do something different as well.
Since you brought up self-tapes, I want to ask you some questions about that. So what is your reaction when you get a self-tape request into your email? Like, take me through the journey of what you feel and how that evolves and what you do.
So a lot of the time, I guess I'm just happy to get one. And then I usually get a text message to say, oh, you've got a self-tape. And so I just go check my emails. And the first thing I do is look and see what type of project it is. My agent uses Tagmin. So which a lot of agents actually now use, and it links up to your Spotlight.
Explain a little bit for our new actors what Tagmin is.
So Tagmin is this client management app or program that allows you to update your calendar, check your submissions basically on Spotlight if you are on Spotlight, but also sometimes your agent may manually put in any submissions, especially if it's like on other sites, because sometimes if they submit you directly to a casting director, they may get an email, so they need to email you, so they will probably have to add the details, and so it's showing on your Tagmin. And so Tagmin is basically a way for agents, a way to manage clients. And so it's really handy. As an actor, it's important to update it. So even if you have a dental appointment, this and that, because your agent will go on to Tagmin and use it to filter through all the actors on their books. And then based on those filters, especially if they have the dates of the job, what kind of job, they'll put in the role, the character description. And so they'll use that to filter through the actors on their books to see who fits the casting.
See,
and
this
then
is helpful
submit.
for me.
Yeah.
Because Pauline's been an agent or like worked so has all this inside information that I didn't know.
So that's why it's important to update your skills. Basically, they filter, especially on castings on Spotlight. So all those little filters, so age, ethnicity, accents, all these bits are used on Tagmin. You can easily filter that. And then the agent is able to see who on their books at first glance, especially, is suitable for that character or for that role. And then submit them accordingly on a Spotlight. So then they'll just type your name as they're going through. So if your calendar is updated and it shows red that you're not available for certain dates, your agent will then click on your profile, because if they think you would really be good for it, the good agents, they will then look at the dates. If it's that one day off, they will reach out to you and be like, by the way, I submitted you for this. Will you be in the country? Are you abroad? So as well, when you update your Tagmin, put the details in exactly where. If you're going abroad, say going abroad can self-tape or can travel back or can do this, whatever, depending on the job, you know? So they'll then look at that. Or sometimes they'll just wing it and then submit to you, because why not? It's only one day out. And if you're within the country, they'll still submit to you probably. So that's how they use Tagmin. But they also use it to manage submissions. And then after 12 hours, 24 hours, any submissions that were on Spotlight that you were submitted for will connect or link up to your Tagmin and automatically upload. So then by the time a casting director then calls you in, your agent will then go to your profile, just click on actual submission in Tagmin and click email. So it just automatically downloads the details, the information.
Oh, wow.
Then they'll attach any extra scripts, if there's any, or extra information that the casting director has given. But on Tagmin, you can just put the times, everything like that. And then you just click send email and it will automatically generate an email.
Oh, wow. So it's much more integrated than I thought it was. Because obviously us on the actor side, we don't get to see all of that.
No, and even when you upload self-tapes as well.
I think usually I get asked to directly upload it to WeTransfer or to the Dropbox that the casting director has set up.
Because of lockdown, a lot of the casting directors started taking the tapes. But I think it's still worth uploading it to Tagmin if you want your agent to then submit it for you. I think it's easier if you help depending on how busy your agent is, it's easier to do it if you can do it, if you have the right editing software or whatever to then upload as one tape instead of like two different scenes. Always try and upload it all.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I tend to do that all on iMovie myself anyway.
So if you can do that, but otherwise Tagmin can do that for you. Converts it into like a downloadable link. And so your agent can share that link with the casting director, and then the casting director can view that. That's usually great for films and TV shows where the casting is happening abroad, so they can then send it to the producers abroad. But if it's for like commercials, those ones usually, if you can edit it into one tape and upload it to the casting director, and then let your agent know you've done it as well, and send them the link you've done just so they can also watch it.
So you're saying when a self-tape comes through, you're usually happy that you've got this opportunity. And then what's the next thing that happens? So just say it's a nice TV audition.
So I know we digressed a little bit on Tagmin. But so whenever I get a self-tape, I will look at what kind of job it is, what the role is. I'll go straight down to the role description and see the notes from the casting director, because it will tell you how many sides, if you have sides. So sides are basically extracts from the script of the show or film that they would like for you to record. So if it's a lot of sides, I'll be like, and also then I'll look at the deadline when I need to submit it back to
Yes. crucial, right?
because that determines how quickly you need to get it done and how much work you need to do on it as well. If I see it's a lot of sides and I know my day is busy, I will endeavor to let my agent know I'm going to try and get this done by the deadline. But could you just possibly ask if there's any chance they can extend it? Always do that. Don't just assume that they will just take the tape whenever. Please always just let your agent know I might not be able to do the tape in time because of, whatever stuff happens in life, So it's just important for your agent to communicate that with the casting director. Obviously, don't abuse that. Don't, take the piss and just be like, oh, I can't be bothered to do it today. I'll ask if they can extend it. Don't do that, because the time when you really need them to do that, your agent might probably just say, you're doing this all the time. Like, they'll question how committed you are to being an actor, an artist, things like that. Because also casting directors look at agents who message them all the time asking for extensions, asking for this, because then they'll be like, their actors are not reliable. So maybe I'll just ask someone else. So it's important to make sure if it's really, really like something that you can't just do it there and then just let your agent know it's because of A, B, C, D that I can't do the tape. Can I please have an extension deadline? Be open and communicate, and then they'll find out for you. But if it's like for the next day and it's only like one page of sides and I can do that quickly, I will then ask my partner to read in, and he's now getting into it as well. If it's in an accent, then I also have to think about that as well.
Yeah.
So see if I can find someone who can do the other accent and then do it. Yeah. So
and you've tried to find someone who could do the accent. In what way do you mean? Do you mean to record the lines in the authentic accent, or do you mean just to act off of?
I think it's both. So if I'm not confident about the accent, I know, but I've done it before and I know I can do it, I will ask someone to just read those characters with their accent, if there's whatever accent it is. But if I know, I just when I'm learning the lines, I'll get into it, I'll start doing it. But I'll still ask if they can read in the other character or the other role, and ask them to act it out as much as possible as well. So react to what I'm doing and all that stuff, just to let me have a better chance of playing it well.
Yeah. So do you have a pool of actors who you tend to ask, or is it a scramble?
I don't really have like a pool of actors. I think a lot of the time it's just basically like who's available. But I think it's usually basically how much time I have to do the tape and what time I will be filming the tape, because sometimes I do the tapes at the oddest hours
Me
of
too.
the night. Yeah.
If I'm exhausted, just say I've got a tape due tomorrow even, and I just know that I'm not going to be able to give it the energy that I would like to give it. Sometimes I will just say, look, listen to your body, go to bed, wake up at 5 a.m, set up all the equipment in advance. Yes, okay, so that could be stressful for some people, and it is a little bit stressful, but I have not regretted it, because usually I do then feel way more energized. And I'm glad that I've given myself the extra sleep and not put pressure on myself to kind of like ramp up. So I think it's important to be in a good state of mind when you're doing a self-tape and feel right.
Yeah.
You mentioned doing self-tapes with your partner who's not an actor, right? So I found that interesting, because I have done self-tapes before with non-actors, but I try to minimize it, because I just find, it could be that your partner's now sort of an actor in the years of helping you out, but I have found the pace to be wrong, or their acting or overacting or flatness to affect how I want to do the scene.
Because sometimes they do it in a cold. Yeah, it puts you off, doesn't it? And because it's like a cold reading, isn't it? And you're like,
it's like, and they say use everything. So they say if you're feeling frustrated or put off, that's fine. Just acknowledge it and use it in your script. But I think it's easier said than done. Like sometimes you're just like, mate, just like, no, this bit needs to be picked up, or like, oh god, So where possible, which I will usually have another actor do it, but I'll use a website called We Audition, where there's constant readers available around the world.
Okay.
And because the time zones are different, even if it is 5 a.m, 2 a.m, you'll find someone like, say, in the States who'll read in with you, and they're all actors. And
And
Usually
do you have
that's
to
like my
pay
backup.
your backup?
Yes, at first, or during the pandemic anyway, often people would put on like a free amount. But these days, I find everyone's charging. Not a lot, but still it adds up, you know. So that's interesting how things have changed in that
Yeah.
respect.
How long for? Like, do you pay? Is it
You
for an
can
hour or is it per
you can pick,
session?
so it's like 15 minutes or half an hour or an hour, or yeah, or some just say you pick half an hour, there's an option to sort of like add 15 minutes if you go over and the other person's free and able to accept it.
Okay.
And you can do tips only. You can, yeah, I haven't been a reader yet, but you can make some money doing it as well.
Okay. And do you have to upload like samples if you're going to be doing it of your voice or of yourself?
Oh, actually, you don't. But I've got a link to my Spotlight profile, so they can see if they want to. But yeah, but my reaction to self tapes, yours seems more positive than mine.
Oh
When I
no.
get a self tape, yeah, I am excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited, but I'm also a bit panicked, and I'm trying
Okay.
to break that reaction because there's so much to organize, and because although there was a talk about them giving us ample notice, I find that often casting directors, they're not giving that. It was something like 3 or 4 full working days, and that if it was a bank holiday, the Monday wouldn't count. But so often I'm still getting auditions that are due the next day, or if you're lucky, 48 hours.
Yeah.
Which isn't really 48 hours, because say it's like 5 p.m. on a Monday and it's due say 10 a.m. on the Wednesday, that's not actually 48 hours, you know. So there were guidelines. Do you remember that? But and I felt like some people were listening for about 5 minutes, and then they went back to the old way of saying, we want it like tomorrow if possible, or like sorry for the short notice, or it's a quick turnaround on this one, folks.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, all right, I guess I have to cancel my life and try and learn all these lines and find someone to read. It's quite stressful.
Yeah.
Just to make it all happen. I think if you live with an actor who understands, then that's probably the ideal. So yeah, my advice, marry an actor, folks.
Yeah, I think for me, because my partner, he started getting into it, and we do a bit of a rehearsal before we go straight into it. So like we'll do like 5 minutes, and then what I do is he'll probably learn this now, but I get him to listen back to what I've recorded, so like I'm watching it to see what's happened. And then he'll start doing that thing, especially as an actor, when you just be like, oh my god, I sound horrible, oh my god, this and this. And I'm like, okay, then how do you want to sound? Make it sound, you know. So I play off of that, and I always then and sometimes he'll be like, can we do that again? Let's do it again. I'm like, oh, okay. Is that for me or for you? But I don't mind, because that means, you know, he's getting into it. He's like, okay. No, this is how I feel like I should be doing this. And sometimes it's great, because as a non-actor, there's things that naturally he will think of that I'm just overthinking. So he'll think of the natural reactions that actually normal people do. And that's saying that as well just makes me think of when you see casting directors saying that they want non-actors, no one knows no actors. Oh, you're like, they want real people. Actors are real people. I'm not gonna lie, like expression. It's so weird, isn't it? It's like, hello. What does that make me?
It's offensive, actually. Yeah.
Very offensive.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've started seeing less and less likes on such castings as well. Not everyone. It's maybe some people tag someone, but not a lot of people are liking them anymore. And it's like, if you want specific type of people, just say, would really love to hear from people with roller skating or who love trampoline. Be very specific about what you want from that person. So then that way, if you do a street casting, even though it's online, and you're opening it up to the public, you're then able to get the actors who are not on Spotlight.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because they are still real people. They are still people who will go and roller skate. They are still people who go jumping on a trampoline and think it's great. They will
and so many actors do other things anyway.
Yes,
because we can't afford to live without doing other things. We cannot not mention the actors' strikes that are happening at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. So, not many people understand why there's the strikes going on, but obviously it started with the writers' strike. And yes, it's horrible that some shows end up getting cancelled because it's happened in the past. Some really good shows and things like that. But it's important for people to be paid correctly.
Yeah.
And so with the actors striking, basically the studios were going to hire actors for the day, especially like crowds or whatever, then film them or take photos of them and record them and upload their, imagery onto their system and pay them for the day.
Yes.
But, it's a perpetuity for their image for the rest of their life, and will never pay them again.
Yeah, and use AI.
And use AI to just replicate.
Make actors do anything. Yeah.
But with that person or with the actor's image,
Yeah.
and not pay people.
I heard Brian Cox talking about it.
Yeah.
He was saying that something about them getting him to do animal noises and to be an animal, and he wouldn't do it, and but they can do it with AI, and it's terrifying.
So, and that's the thing. It's just like, that's not right as well. Like when you do commercials, especially here in the UK, you have, a buyout. So basically a certain period with which they can use that commercial. So if it's 3 months, especially around Christmas, they usually do it for like 2 months, 3 months. And then if they extend it, they'll pay you an extra fee as an actor to use that. So for them to want to do that, but not pay someone every time they use their image is mad.
Totally. There are actors who you assume make enough money to live off acting, but then like Kendrick Sampson has been very vocal about not being paid enough. He said, "Last week I get the news that I've received 56 residual checks. I prayed that these are healthy checks to get me through this time. But lo and behold, 50 checks into counting. I had to take a break because the total was $86. So imagine you're getting these residual checks from this work that you've been in, but you're being paid peanuts."
That's mad.
Yeah, like peanuts.
And this is someone who's been in a lot of projects. And
exactly.
Man. And that's the whole point of the strikes, is that people are paid correctly and paid right,
Yeah.
Because especially as actors, with the 98%, people or even, just 2% are actually being paid properly for.
That's right. Yeah.
For living off of acting and stuff. And
yet,
what about the rest,
Yeah. People aren't getting health insurance, particularly in the States, but that's more of an issue. With help. But and here's the thing, you meet non-actors who ask you about your career and they're like, "Oh, you've got another job, right?" Or and you're like, "Mate, there are actors who I know in big productions or like Game of Thrones who have other jobs." Like you say, 98% of all actors have other jobs because we cannot sustain our lives just on acting.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you're less dedicated. It doesn't mean anything. What it means is that we're not paid adequately, and that there's such a big element of luck involved as well, however hard you work.
Yeah. But you know what? Do you know what really annoys me when people ask you, what do you do? And you say you're an actor, and then they go, what have you been in?
Yeah, it's so I'm sometimes quite cheeky. They say, "Oh, do you know what? Actually, what have you been in is better than have I seen you in anything?"
Oh, yes.
Have I seen you in anything? First of all, I don't know what you watch. Secondly, if you've seen me and you don't remember, that's maybe insulting anyway. So sometimes I'm a bit cheeky and I'm like, I'm not sure. It depends what you watch. What porn do you watch? And that normally stops the conversation, or or cause awkward looks.
Do you know what? When I used to do my other job, where I worked in a pub in Central, and there's one time I was left in charge and someone got stuck in the toilet and they were throwing this hissy fit and they wanted free drinks or whatever on the house for their group of 4. And then when I said no, I'm just going to give it to the person who got stuck in the
Yeah.
loo.
Yeah.
One of them started talking about how they're going to make a complaint, how they're going to go online and ruin the reputation of the pub and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, please do. And when you do, please, my name is Pauline Nakiria. Please remember to just tag me. If it's Twitter, please tag me. I can
That's
do
so
with the
funny.
publicity. I'm an actor, so please mention that too. Literally, and I was giving them, and they were just looking at me like, what is wrong with you? And they just walked away. And then I remember
I love that.
and I remember one of the regulars just looked and was like, oh, well done.
Yeah, bold things that actors do.
Yeah.
You remind me of, if you ever want a seat yourself or space on a bus, just do what I do and talk your lines out loud, but without the script in your hands. So I often record my lines anyway on Line Learner.
Yeah.
So I'm sat there and I'm just talking. I've been on packed buses and had like an empty seat next to me because people you can see them coming towards you and then they like look at you a bit weirdly and they're like, nah, allow that.
Allow it.
And I'm just especially if it's a bit like an angry, like you're there going, I told you. It's so much fun.
The things we do as actors, it's amazing. And like, when you were talking about like in terms of work, when you're doing different jobs, and I know we briefly talked about jobs when you're acting, especially, between the resting periods when you're waiting for your next acting job, and the random jobs that we've all done or the random things that actors end up doing.
Yeah.
It's just mad. And I remember like one of my friends who used to just always ask me, so what job are you doing now? And I'd be like, depends. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. It depends. What's the most random that you can recall, either yourself doing or someone telling you that they did?
For myself, I think it was when I worked at a wine subscription company. It was part of this whole big thing, and they had different accounts, and I was on the wine account. So basically we're calling up lords and ladies and sirs and all that jazz and saying to them, you do another box of wine. And the boxes came in boxes of 6 to 12 bottles, and we're talking very expensive wines. And we had to do like 5 days of training to learn about wines.
Wow.
And the different types of wines, old world, new world wines. The taste, how the different foods make something taste different.
Wow.
And so that you can have a conversation with these members, Did
you get to drink it?
We did like a wine tasting thing.
Oh, very nice.
Because the company that was doing the subscriptions wanted us to be able to talk about them, to be like these, what do you call wine people who do...
Sommelier.
Yeah, so we could be able to, sell the wines. And there was this guy, apparently, who was just always on the top sellers. And he was this quiet guy. He was, I think it was a musician or something like that. But he just somehow, you wouldn't hear him talking loudly like most people. Like, yeah, so like that rosé, that rose, that lovely rose. No, he wouldn't be like that. You just see him sat at his desk, talking, calm, chilled. And next thing you know, boom, someone has bought wine off of him.
That's so interesting. Maybe that's partly why, right? We're so used to, like, maybe our guard goes up sometimes when people go into salesy mode and when they're like big and loud. So suddenly you've got someone who's not doing that. Your guard maybe goes down, and who knows what he used to say, but wow.
And when you'd ask him for tips and things like that, he'd just be like, just talk to them like normal people. Just listen to what they say. If they say something about their dog to you, they want to talk about it, even though they're like, oh, I don't really want to, but and just go back to it. And then he was like, just bring it back to the wine and be like, so do you normally sit down with the dog and stroke it as you're having a glass of wine?
Wow, I like this.
So that was one of the craziest ones I did, and I didn't stop talking about wine for months. So that was fun. That was one of the best things I've done. I don't remember any crazy, I'm sure I've heard of crazy jobs, but what about you?
So I mean, some people would argue that doing medical work is absolutely absolutely nuts. But yeah, so I mean, this wasn't quite between acting, but my best, most interesting work, I think it was as a teenager and also while still at uni, was games testing for TV shows.
Oh.
Yeah, so I did a few things. One was being like an on-screen telephonist for National Lottery shows, which was
Okay.
amazing because you'd get to meet all the presenters.
Nice.
You know, when I was little. And I remember testing out this game, which ended up being a real show. I can't remember what it was called, but being one of the contestants standing in, I won. So they gave me sort of like 50 quid, but on a real show, I would have got something like 10 grand. Not only that,
Wow.
because they ran through the whole show,
Yeah.
when I won, Jamie Theakston, who I really fancied at the time, gave me a kiss on my cheek. So can you imagine little teenager me with this kiss on my cheek? I didn't want to wash my face. So yeah, I didn't have like a regular or a boring job. I was really lucky to have this really unique world, this unique job where I got to be around cameras and be around quite a lot of older but young people who, you know, I got exposed to their worlds and to meet some of the presenters, which is very exciting. And yeah, who knows, that could have also given me more of a taste for TV and film.
Oh, amazing.
You know, like silence on set, or cameras, they're like, oh yeah, I loved it. It's so cool. I'll do it again. So if anyone's out there. Yeah, exactly. It was well paid as well as a teenager.
Yeah. What did you buy with that 50 quid? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know what I spent my money on.
Make it rain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As a kid, when you get that amount of money, you're just like, possibilities are endless.
Yeah, it feels good. I wondered if there was a particular course or workshop that you loved or that changed the way you work, that you still use tips from. Yeah.
So, like, I still do, because you still have to try and practice your craft in any way possible and try and learn how you can adapt and be better. So I try and go to some casting director workshops. Sometimes I think on the odd occasion I'll go for a voice or accent coach, but a lot of the time I find that useful only when you've got in that role, in that character, instead of doing it just to keep your skills alive. But yeah, so I go for workshops run by casting directors. It's not that they will probably, you know, see you for everything they're casting. I will just go for it, because I'll just be like, it's nice to just see how they work, think, not like what they're looking for, because every production is different. It'll depend. So I'll just want to know what the initial process is, so that then I can be like, okay, next time I go to a casting room, I can then know what I need to work on to get what you want, you know? Yeah, but they also give you advice and things like that. So you just get to know behind the scenes.
Yeah. There was one point where I felt like I wasn't getting seen for the things that I wanted to be seen for. Within about actually 8 months, I did about 30 casting director workshops. I was like, okay, who's doing them? I'm going to book them all. And I found it useful in a few ways. I didn't enjoy them that much, but I thought to myself, look, I'm going to possibly learn something. And even if I don't, they're going to see my face. So who knows? They might be casting something that I suit perfectly. You could be lucky. So there's going to be no harm in it. If they meet you face to face, also, when your headshot gets put in front of them, even if they can't remember where they know you from, although often they do, because that's what casting directors are like. It's in psychology, they say, like, when you've seen an image before or a face before and you see it again, you have a bit more of an affinity towards it.
Yes.
And you don't necessarily know why. So I thought, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
But you're right, it was useful. And what was particularly useful was watching other people and seeing what worked and what didn't work. So I'll just give you one very quick example. There was a bit where we had to go around and introduce ourselves. And what I noticed was there was one actor who had done something epic, like, I don't know what it was. Maybe they'd been a main role in The Witcher or something. But But the way they sold that was so energy draining that it didn't at all sound impressive, like really flat. Whereas there was someone else who hadn't done this sort of thing, but they were like, yeah, so I've been doing workshops and, I did this and, I went and I walked my dog, and whatever they said had nothing really to do with how great they might be as an actor, but their energy carried, and it was compelling, and it grabbed you. So often how you come across and how you say something and first impressions matter so much, well, more important than actually what it is that you're saying.
Yeah, especially like when they do ask you, especially when you go to a casting room and they ask you, so what have you been up to?
Exactly.
They're not trying to trip you up. They just genuinely want to know. Upsell yourself. Just talk about yourself in a positive way, no matter how down you feel. Because they'll be like, oh, okay, cool. And they'll be like, oh, tell me a bit more about that,
Yeah.
Don't make it up though, because you will get caught out. But it's nice to talk about yourself in a positive light. We don't just go, yeah, not much. But,
exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So, all right, mate.
Because your energy affects the whole room. Yeah. And people remember how you made them feel, right? So if you go in there and you're the light in their long day of casting, then that's great.
Exactly. Yeah. If they've been in that room the whole day and then you just come in like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, the trains were delayed, innit? Oh,
yeah.
It's like, oh, do you know what? I'm not going to let it get me down. The trains are delayed. That's fine. That's fine. I'm here. That's what matters, right? That's what matters. I'm here. But I love doing them every now and then. I'm going to start doing them again. I haven't done them in a while because I've been busy. But every now and then it's nice to just go back in. And it makes you feel good as well as an actor when you have someone who does it every day going, okay, can you do this a different way? Can you do this a different way? And then you get sides and practice. And it's just a nice way of practicing.
Absolutely.
And
you see those actors who can take direction and those who can't. And one tip that I picked up is to repeat the direction out loud, but in a way that you're processing it. Because if you say it out loud, first of all, you're imprinting it in your own mind, but also you're making sure that you've actually listened to what they've asked you to do. So you're going to shift.
Yeah, listening.
I found it helpful too, just picking up lines very quickly, because I was doing so many workshops. I'd have, say, 4 pages of things to learn each time. So just getting into that habit. Any other tips that you've picked up on these workshops?
Yeah, learn the lines. No matter what, whether you know the character, whether you understand the character, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they would like for you to be off book. They say, try to be off book. But that's their polite way of saying be off book. So I would say definitely try to learn the lines as much as possible. And some of the workshops I've been to, basically the casting director would send the sides like a day or 2 before.
Yeah.
Just to see how much work you put into it. Because, I know you talked about, giving us time to learn, to work on something. But one casting director said that a lot of the time, especially in America, they don't understand. They don't care.
Yeah.
And so they just send it straight through and they're like, can they do this? Oh, we were thinking that maybe we could work on this. Could you do that in the next 2 days? All the producers are going to be in there.
Yeah.
The casting is like, because also it's their job. It's their work. They'll just be looking for the agents that are quick to send actors through, or the ones they remember, the ones they've worked with, and they were like, they'll be great for this, and that's how they just quickly go boom. And then so they like just learn those lines as much as you can, because when you then go into a room, or by the time you do your tape, they want to see that you're not trying to remember the line. Freezing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
going into your head.
Yeah. So they
trying to desperately scramble for this line. Yeah. Coming out of the moment and the character. Yeah.
Exactly. I remember that same casting just said, just listen to that person speaking to you, because they will tell you what you need to say next. Because
with good writing, absolutely.
Yeah. We can see it straight away when you're thinking of the next line. So
exactly. You want to listen and respond.
And she said as well, if you don't remember the line, but you remember what you were saying, and you still say it in the way that you would, not drag it out like a paragraph, especially if it's just one sentence, short sentence. But if you just say something along the lines, they're not going to kill you for it, because at this point you're just casting.
Have you done any other workshops? Other, you said voice, but
Yeah.
what sort? Like, any tips from them?
Yeah, those ones, the tip I learned is to do them when you get a part. Oh,
Oh,
that's it.
okay.
Yeah.
It's funny because I went to an American accent workshop
Mm,
this week
mm,
and she sort of said the opposite.
okay.
But I believe her too.
Mm,
Because the thing is, if you wait until you have the role, one thing is she's saying a lot of productions are not paying for
mm,
dialect coaches. And even if they are, it's so much more stressful
mm,
to try and get something for the job. And in the stress of it, your accent tends to come out of its safe place anyway. So if you've got a
mm.
nice stable base and you're already feeling quite confident, a refresh is much better than like, oh, I need to learn this and I need to give a good performance. And like,
True.
oh, I've got the role
True.
and I'm an imposter. And like, oh no,
Yeah.
they're going to find out. They're all going to find out that I can't act and that I
Mhm.
can't do any accents. Like that is an additional stress. So
True.
I do like to try to go to some accent workshops and annoy my friends.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
any other day, like everything else, it's good to practice your craft. And so obviously
Mm,
practicing the accent as often as you can, when you can, is
yeah.
good. It's just I think I was more like leaning towards the if it's regional or specific to
Yeah.
so that then you can
And
hone
it is a
that.
good point. I'm not saying you're wrong because they're
Yeah.
expensive as well and
Yeah.
hard to find. So if you're like, okay, I can spend £100 now or I can spend it when I've got the role, it does make sense to hold off and use
Yeah.
that money
Yeah.
for when you've got the role and you want to tweak it.
And the other thing I used to do, I used to go for other skills. So like commedia dell'arte,
Nice.
physical theatre stuff. Because I always loved dance and I wanted to be a dancer, but I never got to do that. So I love, theatre companies like Complicité and
Yeah.
I always try to do another skill, like,
Yeah.
complementary to the craft and just
Yes.
so that's like kind of part of it is because you have to be in that fitness element as well because
100%.
your core, all of these things play into you as a character. It's all about not just the, face value, but the physicality of the characters come into play
Hmm.
a lot. Yeah, so when there's workshops like that, which are very far in between, I try and go
Yeah.
to them because remember when Stomp was in the house?
Yeah.
Oh, I loved that. I remember going to one of the castings and I really felt intimidated. I got to the final round,
Yeah. Amazing.
but I felt really intimidated because obviously I just thought I love Stomp. I love it just boom boom pow pow boom boom, just you know,
Yeah.
and I can boom boom clack
Wow.
clack my way through.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, like a lot of the people who were left were just their athleticism was just incredible.
Yes.
um Obviously like dancers and all these things, and yet one of
Yeah.
the actors was in it and she actually lived next to my mum in North London. She was like, I'm not that physically able, but it's the energy you bring to it, the vibes that you have that people that got me this job
Mm.
because then I started working on the physicality bit a bit more so I can match up with everybody else. But
Totally.
she was
Yeah.
like, it was mainly the vibes, the
Energy,
rhythm,
vibe.
energy that you
Yeah.
had with you. So yeah, so I try and do workshops like that just complement, like different to what I'm used to.
Totally.
Those are
That's
quite
like me in
fun.
singing, right?
Yeah.
I figured I love music
Mm,
and it's only going to help my voice in
mm,
acting, even though it's singing. And yeah, you never know, there might be something that I sing in as an actor, but I wasn't specifically doing it for that. It was
mm,
just like, well, this complements it. And it's been great learning stagecraft as a singer as well, because I've never really thought about it in any
mhm.
detail. But then I lost my voice after Glastonbury and my teacher has a really strict cancellation policy, so I still
Mm,
went and he was like, okay, well, we'll do stagecraft. And there are things that we do organically that I was doing, so he was like, oh, I was going to tell you about what you do with your hands, but you're doing this automatically,
mm.
using your hands to highlight bits in the music or to tell the story.
Yes.
But one amazing thing that he said that I hadn't noticed was that a lot of singers we see who have amazing stage presence and stagecraft are actually really quite aggressive on stage in a way that they're not in real life. So if you, for example, point to an audience, they love it. Whereas if in real life you point, it's rude and it's actually like, oh. But do this on the stage and the crowd will go wild. So, pointing your hand out, looking down your hand, like, so, and if you think about it, like, look at Beyonce, look at like Sasha Fierce. That's a different character or persona to if you see Beyonce in an interview where she's actually just quite intelligent and like measured and soft. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, wow, you're completely right. Look at Michael Jackson. Actually, there's an aggressiveness on stage. Like, like, who's that? But you hear him talk and he's talking like this.
Yeah.
So people are acting on stage. So, doing these complimentary classes and things are interesting.
It gets you out of the shell, and allows you to just be. Actually, a lot of very good artists out there have personas.
Yes.
Just creating that character that's separate from you because it allows you to embody something else. I was just thinking of, Rowan Atkinson's famous for Mr. Bean.
Yes.
And, these characters, they play them so well. They're like, Ricky Gervais in The Office,
Yeah.
And building on that, and then just playing off of that and just carrying on and, having that. Yeah, no, definitely. It is nice to do these different workshops with different skills to let you learn how to get into that persona, into that character for whatever you need to and use those skills. No, definitely worth going to them.
So, as we're coming towards the end of our show, it's a good time to find out what you've been watching recently. I have discovered a new series called Survival of the Thickest. Have you heard of it?
Yes,
have you seen any of it?
It's on my watch list. I actually am looking forward to watching it. How is it? Is it good?
Yeah. It is good. It's funny. It's great to see actors in their like 30s/40s who are like, other Black actors who are doing comedy, but it's not about being Black, It's just about being a person.
That's
exactly.
That's what we want. It's about the person, not about what race they are.
Yeah. It's very funny. It's sick. Nice, easy watching. I recommend it.
Sick.
It's a giggle.
Yeah. What I have been watching though is because I didn't finish the last season and the new season is out, is Dreaming Whilst Black.
That's great.
It's pretty cool.
Yes.
I love that.
I've not seen this series, but I met Ajani during a festival.
Okay.
Before it all happened.
Nice.
So he had just released or made like the pilot.
Yeah.
And it was showing at a festival and I saw it and it was hilarious.
Yes.
And he told me how much work he'd put into it and his massive kind of Bible that he'd written with everything that was going to happen. And I remember thinking, wow, this is incredible. Next thing you know, it's a whole series.
Yes.
So I'm really proud. Big up.
Cool. It's really cool. But that's what I would recommend.
Good recommendation.
Yeah. So. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And we look forward to hearing from you soon. And until next week, have a good one.
Until next week. Bye.